video journal starting. The duration ought to be about 1 hour. There's a whole lot to talk about. I'm mainly talking about these three books, the Robert Greene trilogy. Um, the first book was released in 1998, and the last book, the 33 Strategies, is from 2007. And in 2008, I had created a video game version of this classic board game. Classic game of global domination is what it says. A lot of people should at least be familiar with it. It's sort of like Monopoly. A war version of Monopoly. There's a map here of the world. Hopefully I can, most of my video journals are like show and tell type stuff. So I think I got this at Target many years ago. I liked it because it looked like a book, like Jumanji or something. It's that sort of a theme. I have a couple other books here. I can never seem to find my Robert Greene books. This one is Mastery. Might be easier if I hold it upside down. I don't know, because everything's backwards. I don't really know what to say. This is sort of a mainstream Robert Greene book. After his trilogy, it was sort of his starting out with, it was like a long journey for him to go mainstream into books like this, and now he has 2 more books or 3 more books after that. Here's an encyclopedia from Mike Judge, creator of Beavis and Butthead, and movies like Idiocracy can be traced back to this from the 1990s, specifically under P for Presidents. What that's supposed to mean is that the larger the hair is on these, means the larger they have a larger cranium or brain. That's what the joke is there. So under P for Presidents, shows here, they're sort of like the rock stars of their day. But then when media was created, mass media, in the early 1900s, a lot of media figures, such as Steven Tyler, comparable to JFK, just below him, and other people, they have become more powerful, like Elvis, have a more powerful following, Martin Luther King, than presidents himself. Presidents used to be sort of like the Elvis of the 1800s or 1700s and stuff like that. And that's how we have like an idiocracy in modern times. And there's more stuff. I don't know if I'm going to go back into this. I think this might be, here's Clark Cobb's tool chest. Might be where Tim Allen got his show Home Improvement. Because if I can see when this was published, in 1994, I think Home Improvement might have been a show already at that point. I'm already getting off track. From my most recent video journal, I showed this. These cards are used in an Italian mob induction ceremony. When a guy becomes made man, like in the movie Goodfellas, he pricks one of his fingers and drops blood on it and takes like a blood oath. I found this. It says Vincent Petrino. I thought it was his confirmation card, my uncle, but it's actually his uncle, born in 1891. So I was born in 1988, but that says 1891 right there. And this is actually his funeral card from 1950. Yeah, 1950. September 12th. Whoa. That's really close to now. Anyways, it even has a Hail Mary on it out here at the bottom. And that's sort of what I had done in my video blog. I have my other phone here. I was supposed to put on a song. I guess I forgot to do that. It's going to fall again. I have my Bluetooth keyboard hooked up to that phone and this one. Overture of 1812. Oh, I forgot to type in 8-bit. just so I can have a song or something. And I'll put it on repeat. That's a new YouTube feature. Where to start? Where's I gonna start? That's sort of the theme of the 33 Strategies book. Here's the board itself. That's getting loud, extremely loud. Here's the map. Shiny, has a little boat. This part over here is what's known as the New World. Discovered sort of Columbus and Vespucci, the explorers. Oh well. Cool. Yeah, that music is very distracting. Should I go ahead and switch these out? I think I'm going to switch the phones out. I'm accidentally pressing a button on the phone. I have my playlist over there. So here, I'll go ahead and show my thing again. When I say my thing, I mean my, what's her name? She's a Praying Mantis. Anyways. Also in my book bag, I have a lizard. Oh, it's actually a gecko. I think he's eating, I don't know. He's really shy. He's extremely shy. Maybe I can show him right now. So I'm setting up this phone where the other one had just been. And I have my Bluetooth keyboard. So I'll go ahead and I'll show on my Watch Later playlist. I have a few things to mention. Okay, so here's chapter 37. The thing is, I don't know where these books are. I know I have them. I've purchased them multiple times, all three of them. And in the audiobook, I don't know where they are. They either I throw them away or I hide them or people find them and throw them away. And I just don't know where they are. I haven't had them for, it feels like a couple of years. I haven't even had them to go through. And on the audiobook, though, a lot of the key points are missing. And the audiobook is not as full as the physical books. And there's even this concise edition. So finally, Carla R. Fowler, on her channel, she's read through every single chapter word for word. And so she just completed it about a week ago. And I have chapter 37. And that's going to be, it's called Create Compelling Spectacles. But the most important part of the chapter is the symbolism and the power of symbolism, because it's the 48 Laws of Power. So I have that pulled up right here. I went too far. I was supposed to add a bookmark in the comments. Yeah, it's this part. My phone's going dim over here. That's not visible in the video, it is to me. I can't see.
Imposes itself as a given. It discourages questions, creates forceful association, resists unintended interpretation.
Okay, so the truth is rarely seen. Actually, the truth is rarely heard and it's usually seen. And that's a quote from the book. A lot of the most resonating quotes from his trilogy, I can't ever remember what book they're in. So I have the digital files here that I can search through to find them. And so his books are symbolized in the chapter Create Compelling Spectacles. The way that he writes about some of the symbols of each chapter, it even shows what it looks like. For example, one of the chapters, it shows a snake symbolism and how it, or a virus symbolism, and just the way the words are put together in a completely unique way. It sort of paints a picture, paints a perfect picture in the words of late great Tupac. And I don't know if I was going to mention Tupac or not. I know I had some things to say that might be on the next blog. So anyway, so there's 48 laws and 48 chapters of the book, not counting the introduction. And so, because in my opinion, the most important chapter to understand is the one on symbolism. And it's called Create Compelling Spectacles. It's number 37. So it sort of makes a line going backwards from the end of chapter 48, Stay Formless. Chapter 37, Symbolism, Create Compelling Spectacles. Chapter 26, Crush Your Enemy Totally. Chapter 15, what is chapter 15? I can't remember now. And then down to chapter 4, and that's always say less than necessary. I have to check to see what is, was it 15? I might have missed one. Oh, chapter 26, Keep Your Hands Clean. That's the other one that I have added to the playlist. And then that was at the beginning of the outbreak, around March, April 2020, on Robert Greene's Twitter that I check regularly. He said, keep your hands clean, right? Like, I told you guys this in the 90s, what's happening right now. And in England, their National Institute of Health, Department of Health, had the slogan, hands, face, and space. So here I'm in this tiny little space. I'll just say what it's a restroom. And it's very clean, right? It's a clean space. Okay, where was I? So here's on my list. So I have the hands, face, space right here.
As winter approaches, we'll be spending more time indoors. This will increase the risk of coronavirus spreading. The following reconstructions of everyday environments show why washing hands regularly, wearing a face covering, and keeping at least 2 meters apart is vital in controlling the spread.
So it's just hands, face, space. That's the opening, that's just the smallest way, the concise way to explain what's happening. I also have this in the self-development book community. So the thing is, let me mention some other things. This is the Galaxy S5, both of these phones right here. I first got the first Samsung smartphone called the Samsung Instinct. I ordered it over the phone, and I said, can I open PDFs on my phone? Because whether or not I'm riding on a bus or a train or something like that, I want to be able to read books because I have a backlog of thousands of digital files, PDFs, in the self-development community. Some of the origins of that being Win Friends and Influence People and stuff like that. Even the 48 Laws of Power gets its title influence from How to Win Friends and Influence People, Dale Carnegie. The idea is never complain. And there's a quote in The Simpsons when Moe from Moe's Tavern says, you can't complain or you won't. Or you're just not willing to complain. And so, in the introduction of 48 Laws of Power, Robert Greene issues a warning. He says, the whole reason I'm writing this book is because no one wants to have these discussions talking about power. And so it's already a dangerous topic to even talk about. And the most dangerous people are the people who are unwilling to talk about it. People are unwilling to make complaints. So when someone's making a complaint, like a politician, they're usually fabricated and sort of inflated, and it's because they're seeking power. And people who don't complain are already secure in their power. They already have money, they already have a nest egg and a family and all this stuff. So the way that people win votes in politics is by issuing out public complaints. And that's the way to know that someone is seeking power, when they're saying there's something wrong with our world today. What else? So the very easiest way to understand this trilogy here, it took me, the last one that I finally understood very recently, relatively speaking, a couple of years ago or a year ago or something. Like Austin Powers' name, Austin Danger Powers. Danger is his middle name. It's making fun of James Bond and stuff. That's there's a quote in the 48 Laws of Power. It says, there is no risk, or there is no, oh, I even have the risk over here, don't I? Let's use the map. There is no, you won't find power without risk. So all you have to do to find power is look for risk, and there's danger everywhere. Try to find something that someone isn't willing to complain about, or something someone isn't willing to do, or something. There's signs everywhere that said danger, you know, high voltage and all this stuff. It's everywhere, and that's even power. Like electrical power says danger, high voltage. It's the same meaning. Most people understand power. Most people who talk about this book on YouTube don't understand what it means, and they just haven't read the book enough, because the quote is in there about risk and power and stuff. With risk and power, it's hard to find, and I could probably search it out. Most people say about control. You know, people on TV and stuff, when they're talking about stuff, they say this is about control. And so when people talk about control, that's their idea of power. It's different though. What else? Money is definitely not power. It's sort of the fake power, the false front of power. Actual control, people who actually control the world are wealthy. They have nothing to complain about. So that leads me to exposing other countries. There's a Soviet prison that in the 1500s, a guy named, his name is very significant. Whoever founded this monastery, it was eventually turned into Russia's Alcatraz prison. Let me say, there's almost 5 words that they don't technically rhyme with Alcatraz. I don't know, Al Capone, alcohol, Alcatraz, etc. So anyways, here's one part and one quote.
Some of the men are not satisfied with the size of the portions.
I can't see.
Give me some more meat. What's wrong? I want some more meat. Just take your plate. Do I have to tell you again? I don't want any more pasta. What? No more pasta.
Here's the quote right here.
Some lifers like to write letters to the state prosecution service complaining that they are being badly treated or not being given their toiletries. It's all lies. They're bored and they want a bit of attention. But most of them don't want to get involved in all this nonsense with complaints.
That's not just in Russia. That's actually,
Human rights organ.
if I could find a quote of someone who was working in an American prison saying that, I wouldn't even expose that. That's how serious it is. And so I'm sort of making a mockery of that. I have my video about my, what's her name? My praying mantis negotiating her freedom. And, you know, I feed her every day. Now I have a lizard. I don't know, just for whatever reason. I'll go ahead and... There's nothing in my book bag except for the lizard. He's warmed up to me. He was really shy. I don't see him right now. I don't see him in here. He's always in here. I just sort of find him. Maybe I'll find him later. I don't see him at all. No, he's not even on there. Oh well. I'll find him later. Well, I shouldn't have even done that. So, someone who's secure in their job position, doesn't have any complaints. The only thing that guy in that documentary that I just showed complaints about is mosquitoes. He says, like, in the summertime, the mosquitoes are really bad. And I just realized something like last week that 48 Laws of Power is all about mosquitoes. Even The Art of War, that book that's apparently been going around for centuries, the ancient art of war. Know thy enemy. That's even one of the chapters in the 33 strategies. It says know your enemy instead. And the thing is that mosquitoes are like springs. Like crush your enemy totally, I just mentioned, is one from 48 Laws. And they're made of springs. Like they have spring wings, spring legs, spring body, spring everything. And they're, like I said, the greatest warriors that nature's ever known. And so that's the one common enemy that humans all share. And when I looked on Wikipedia after that, it said that some claims are anywhere from 5% of humans who have ever lived on Earth have been killed by mosquitoes. And some other claims are something like 80% of people who have lived and died through human history have died because of mosquitoes. And so the idea is, what these books are doing is Robert Greene is praising all these people who have passed away in order to sort of inherit the recognition that they received in their lifetimes and in their passing and everything. And in the wake of it, he's trying to take all the wake of their stuff. And so in the digital era, what we can do is we can try to make a digital file of every single human who's ever lived and point out what's their fatal flaw, what's the fatal mistake that they made. And I didn't even add it in here. There's a video from the 1950s. It's like a virtual medical school. It shows a guy with rabies, and it shows his process it shows him dying. And I don't know if I want to even mention that in the last 2 millenniums, going back 2,000 years, almost, I would say over 90 to 95% of people who passed away have passed away in almost the exact same way in a hospital bed. What can I say about the Millenniums? He wrote this book, The 48 Laws, in 1998, just 2 years before the turn of the new millennium, and the turn of the century, and the turn of the decade, and all these other things. It was like a New Year's type celebration at a massive scale, 1,000 times greater than any given New Year's. And what he was doing, he was trying to pick out the most important people that can be reasonably spoken about, just a few people in this book, to symbolize the entirety of our world's culture from the year 0 to 2000. That's 2,000 years of culture. And okay, so what happened was, we're in the third millennium. After the year 2000, that's now the third millennium. Like, as if in the 1900s, that's actually the 20th century. It's the same with the year 0 to 1000. That was the first millennium. And then the second millennium. And now we're in the third millennium. And so the first millennium started off with one significant man's life. And that was Jesus. And he's mentioned in one of these books. I can never remember which one. It might be the second one. One man's entire complete life story. That was the most significant event of the first millennium. And that carried over into the second millennium. And then at the beginning of the third millennium, how many more people, there was with the Twin Towers and everything. That was a similar event. To kick off the third millennium, it's a similar thing. And so at that rate, the fourth millennium is going to have some kind of massive 100,000 people losing their life in some spectacular fashion. That's just at the rate of what's been happening in world history up to this point. At the beginning of the second millennium was the creation of the first law school in Bologna, Italy, and it's the University of Bologna. And so what happened there, this might just be an introduction, I'll get to the reading of it later. From the year 0 to 1000, there was only really one book, and that was the Bible. And what it's talking about at the end of it with the Rapture is a similar thing to Blondie the musician's late 1970s song called Rapture. She even has a song from the late 90s or early 2000s called Rules of Life that can be compared to the 48 Laws of Power. It's just a 5-minute song, whatever, and it could be compared to the 12 Rules for Living. What's his name? Canadian author and professor, doctor of psychology. Whoa, I can't think of his name. Johnson or Jacobson. I can't think of his name. 12 Rules for Life, the book title. Anyways, there were no stories written about people's lives. It was all packaged into one book called the Bible, because everyone would either live. It was supposed to contain every single aspect of human history and human life experience into one book called the Bible. But what happened in the Rapture was the creation of the printing press, and very slowly other books became more popular than the Bible itself. That's what happened in the second millennium. And now that we're in the third millennium, it's even more extreme. It's a similar thing to the way that rap music, very slowly but surely, had taken over every other type of music. And that can be shown on a chart that's on my YouTube playlist. The most popular music styles, for example, in the beginning, opera, marches, folk. This is 1912. That's opera, marches, and folk. Those were the most popular music styles. Well, let's go to 1998 when 48 Laws was published. Hip hop is the orange. House and new wave, I think, are at the top. Rap music was still a joke. People call it rap, crap, and stuff like that. Fast forward 20 years, it's not a joke anymore. And a similar thing could be said about the book 48 Laws. And it's sort of to prevent people from copying digital books. We're moving from physical books to digital books, and that's what, if I could rephrase it again, during the first millennium, year 0 to 1000, the Bible had everything. Every single aspect of human experience could be extracted out of the Old and New Testaments. And even the 48 Laws of Power has Old and New Testament quotes. All three of his books do, I think. And what happened was the Rapture that's mentioned is sort of talking about how with the first law school, just after the turn of the first millennium, the first law school was made in Bologna, Italy, and also eventually the first school of medicine in Western Europe, in France, in Paris, University of Paris. And what happened was people started having scripts written about their life. Every doctor has written scripts, and it's not to be confused with a prescription. It's just saying, patient blah, blah, blah. This is what's happening, his symptoms and stuff. The Simpsons. Anyways, I'm just rambling. So the most significant events of the first millennium was Jesus' life, okay? The most significant event of the second millennium was the creation of law school in Bologna, Italy, the oldest and first university of law and the court system. Around the year 1000. And then the third millennium was September 11th. And so, as I mentioned, what the Rapture is how other books that aren't the Bible became more popular than the Bible itself around the year 1000, because people started having books written about their own lives rather than just being fit in somehow into one of the characters of the Bible. And then a similar thing happened with rap music, and gangster rap and hip hop created a more powerful following than most politicians or any politician. And that was with recorded media and some media figures in the early 1900s, because the system that we had when it was set up, it was just letters. That was the only form of communication, and people used to have to deliver letters across the sea. It would take weeks. It would take weeks to get a message from Washington, D.C. to the west coast of America. And with the invention of Instagram, Telegram, teletype, telephones, all these things, email, digital videos, it's just a different world. We're not living in the same world. So it's possible for the average person to have the same amount of risk and power as any politician before the digital era and recorded media and stuff like that. So, okay, so where should I start? So I'm trying to show. I'm going to go ahead and open the first one over here. I'm going to dip on the camera, I guess. Okay. Can I search through here? So as I mentioned, the most significant, there is, okay, here's Law 48. Okay, so just, I'm going to go ahead and hold my phone. So the idea is going formlessness. This is the structure, 48, 47, or towards the end it would go 46, 47, 48. So here's the formlessness. I'll show what it is. It's going from 48 to the most significant, 37, right here, about symbols, right here, radiant symbols, and then going from 37 to 26, and it's just following a simple mathematical form to keep your hands clean, and then to 20, not 26, but 15, right here, crush your enemy totally, and then to number 4. Say less than necessary. So let me see if I can go back and, okay, so I'll show a similar thing in the 33 strategies over here. So instead of starting at 48, because there's only 33 chapters, we're going to start at 33. This is kind of like the wasp that I have. I could show, there's a wasp in here that this is its sanctuary. So I'm going from 33 to 22. Here's 22. Know how to end things, the exit strategy. That's the chapter that's always emphasized in Robert Greene interviews that he gave around this time, 2007 or 6 when this was published, and I graduated high school. Art of ending things. So what's the symbolism of the end? Start at the last chapter and work back to really drill into the mind the concepts here, the height of strategic wisdom and stuff like that. Reverberate, resonate and stuff. So anyway, so I'm going from 22 to 11, and these are the most significant chapters. Trade space for time, and that's hands, face, space. That's how it all comes together. Okay, and then so if I was following the same 33 to 22 to 11, that would leave me to 0. There is no 0. There's only the whatever it is. Here's Sun Tzu, The Art of War. There is no chapter 0. Chapter 0 is the second book in the series, The Art of Seduction. And so what the opening I'm setting up my phone again. What the opening says in the book, 48 Laws of Power, to always be wary of people who aren't willing to admit that there's a war going on. For example, when the Vietnam War ended or something like that. Those are the people to be worried about. And so, you know, if any indication that these books share a similar, of course they share a similar, the same author, the same mind wrote these books, we're gonna have to know. I'm just assuming that because the same person wrote these books, that the same holds true, because he doesn't repeat himself. He always says less than necessary. He says once about power, he says, and now I have to explain what power, seduction, and war really mean. I already explained at risk. Let me show it again. People who are unwilling to admit that seduction and war is taking place, those are people to worry about, because they're not very smart. And if they do know, but they're just not willing to admit to either themselves or the people that can admit to themselves but not to others, those are the people especially to be worried about. In comedies or whatever, there's always the blind, unassuming person. That's from the 48 Laws. Those are the funniest people. America itself was sort of created to be an education society, whereas Oxford, as I mentioned, in Italy, Bologna, Italy, the first law school ever was from the year 1000, and the demand for education slowly built up to the year 2000, and the thing is that the most desired degrees were always going to be English speaking. Everyone wanted to go to either Oxford in England or eventually Cambridge, and that's known as Oxbridge, two the best, most prestigious universities in the world, up until Harvard was created in America. And it was created in America to be an overflow. I don't know what to say other than Oxford and Cambridge were created for English people or international people from Asia, different continents, Middle East, Africa, and everything. They have to have a whole lot of money to be able to move there to get that degree and get educated at Oxford or Cambridge. I watched a documentary where here's what the joke is. Like, the blind, unassuming person, not blind, but just the unassuming person, the person who isn't able to admit to themselves that there's a war going on, individually and everything. So she grew up in South Africa. She was made fun of by her peers for working too hard, and that's in the 48 Laws, and the courtier thing about never appear to be working too hard, make your accomplishments seem effortless. There's a whole lot of scattered quotes about that idea of, it's symbolized in The Art of Seduction with Rudolph Valentino. He used to do things that made men very angry. Men didn't want to have to do what he did. If he was setting the trend and setting the bar by doing something that was almost impossible for other men to do, such as a similar thing with Elvis or someone like a rock star, men will start to hate them because we can't just as average people do what he does. And, so that always happens with people who are setting trends. It's important not to set the trend of being the hardest worker, like a valedictorian. So her peers used to make fun of her for doing her homework and always having the best grades. They said, "What are you trying to do? You trying to go to Oxford?" This is a real story. I'm not making this up. And she said, "Yeah, you know what? Like in Back to the Future, when the guy who's working at the diner, Michael J. Fox character, Marty McFly, he says, you're going to be mayor someday." And he goes, mayor. I like the sound of that. And then he becomes mayor. Anyways, that's what happened. She's like, yeah, I'm going to go to Oxford. And then she gets to Oxford, and they have a person with an American accent, like me, working at the English University of Oxford, telling her that she needs to go to America to go to like Harvard or something. And that's the whole reason America was created, in my opinion, was to have a sort of melting pot of universities. And that's just the way I see it. And it's sort of like a joke, like someone who can't read a social cue would say, yeah, I am going to go to Harvard. And then when they get there, the joke starts playing out in front of their face. They start to realize that they're part of some kind of a comedy script or something. So what else? That's a similar thing between power, seduction, and war. People who can't admit to themselves or others that it's happening. It's a similar thing with comedy. But let me just say, what I watched yesterday on Vice News Channel, they released a Too Soon documentary about comedy. And the thing is, I've never been to New York City. I've never even been anywhere close. I've been to Ohio on family trips. And so I feel I've never been. I had never been during 2001, and I've never been since then. I don't know anyone from New York City. Some of the most significant states in the last century, New York was one of them because of Buffalo, and also Ohio, where my father and grandfather, their father, whatever, whole lot of my family is from Ohio. If I'm not mistaken, Cleveland. Not only because John D. Rockefeller, not to be confused with Rockefeller Records or Goodfellas, the movie, he's from Cleveland, right there on one of the Great Lakes. Anyways, now, just consider how the popularity of the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas has become the de facto capital of the United States since the Cowboys have been the most mentioned, most money-making team. And why is that? Also, you have to look to Cleveland before that, and Buffalo, New York before that. And I won't even get into it. Maybe I will. That's one of those things, like I said, is something that can't be complained about. Or like, I'm not willing to complain about that. And anyways, so what else? What was I just saying? I don't even remember. Okay, so I was explaining what seduction is. Seduction is distraction. A quote that I wrote just a couple of days ago was, up until the year 2019, people were doing the wrong thing. In the year 2020 and 2021 or so many people are complaining because of all of people's combined behavior up to this point. I know I've heard it's a meme of how people need to take responsibility. Nothing's going to change unless people take responsibility. September 11th, I didn't see any of that. That's just, they're exporting the responsibility to the Middle East. I don't see anyone taking responsibility there. And as far as 2019, humans made a lot of mistakes. And the one that is being sold to people right now is that we weren't getting a vaccine before 2019. It even rhymes. That's not what it was. People were making other mistakes. It's a human created problem up to year 2019. The stuff people did in the years going forward has to be different, has to change. People have to change to make the world a better place. So there is a sense of urgency there in chapter 4. So here's just sort of introduction. So I'm trying to give the real, believe it or not, these books are kind of mainstream. Not nearly as mainstream as something like Mastery and his newer works. Those are much more mainstream. War is inundation, as Lisa Left Eye Lopez says in the TLC song No Scrub. On the music video version, it's an extended song. There's an extra verse where Lisa Left Eye Lopez is throwing punches and she says, "So, let me give you something to think about. Inundate your mind with intentions to turn you out." So the word inundate, it means to be overwhelmed. So even mosquitoes can inundate people to death. And on Wikipedia it says anywhere from 5 to 80% of humans who've ever lived have been inundated and killed by mosquitoes. So that's a damn problem. And so that gave me something to think about. And I was going to go ahead and read. What chapter was I going to read in the 33 strategies? I don't even remember what chapter I was going to read. I suppose I could go back to what the other two books that I have here are, and how just one chapter over here of word games and number games book right here is just the one chapter. Whoops, phone's falling. Okay, just reading through this one thing here. A lot of people are intentionally left out of the 48 laws, in my opinion. Okay, this stuff takes years to understand, as it says in the introduction of 48 laws. Let me just go into the introduction of this over here. So the book that I just showed you there was mentioned Lord Jamar on his YouTube channel and promoted. He's the only mainstream person to promote that book, as far as I know. And it used to be 10 and 20 years ago, talking about rap music was somewhat of a joke because no one thought it would have staying power, and yet it is the largest music genre as of today by a large margin. And I didn't know until I saw the data. Similar thing for these books here, in my opinion. I don't have the data, but I do see that people are always posting about it online on YouTube. So, here about symbols, right here. Numbers are symbols, letters and words are symbols to get lost in, like a maze. Okay. It takes effort and years of practice, understanding symbolism of numbers. Where's the part about skimming through looking for entertainment, like most people do? The song Bling Bling, I think it's from 1999. Our motto, Cash Money motto is to drink till wheezy throw up. I've made some videos about calculus. That word should be different. That's not calculus. It should be calculus. That's where luck comes from, in my opinion. Just random thoughts. So what I just said today in a YouTube chat, patience is a skill. What people in school, growing up in school, and teachers and professors, they're the leaders. And so there can only be one leader. And so the skill of leadership is only learned outside of school. People get kicked out of school trying to be a leader when the professor or the teacher is the leader. A lot of songs about this with intentions. So, for example, I have these wasps. The wasp, mosquito. No, I don't have pet mosquitoes. I do have praying mantis, and they're highly seductive. They're not attractive. Like they don't like this gecko that I have. He's really like he or she, whatever it is. It sort of is like a dog or a cat in comparison, and so the wasp and the mantis have to be extra seductive for me to take care of them. And so even when my intentions outside, I have ladybugs and these miniature mantises and beetles and all kinds of weird things that I'm trying to take care of. And in the process of me trying to help them and care for them, they end up drowning and all types of things just happen. And so it doesn't matter the intentions. It just doesn't matter what people's intentions are, even in healthcare. As Marcus Valerius Martialis wrote 2,000 years ago, child care duty, Rudy Tooty, fresh and fruity. I mentioned that in my most recent second most recent vlog on YouTube. Like a billiard ball or like a pinball. I don't really know. This isn't. I'm not ending things well here. Okay, yeah. The book has been designed for browsing and examining whatever seems pertinent. Um, and he designed it to be like the Eachine. I think it's a Asian book. It's supposed to be like a fortune-telling book, the Eachine, spelled with an I and then just Ching. Sort of like, I think there's a rap artist named Chingy. And I was thinking that maybe he chose that name because of springy, like a mosquito. I'm just looking for one quote. So this book or any book, even the Bible, can be picked apart for entertainment, to laugh, something to laugh at, the foibles of others, the foibles and great deeds of our predecessors, a warning. So that's how you know that's where the power's at, when there's a warning. To those who are going to use this book for that purpose, to think it's funny, right, for comedy purposes, it might be better to turn back. It sounds like, I don't know, some kind of Pirates of the Caribbean Disney ride or something at Disney World. Power is endlessly seductive and deceptive in its own way. So that's where he says, seduction is deception. That's what he says in a different, in the Art of Seduction. He was already saying he's going to have the seduction. He had already had all 3 books planned out. It is a labyrinth. It's a maze. Mind becomes consumed with solving its infinite problems. Soon you realize how pleasantly lost you've become. In other words, it becomes most amusing by taking it seriously. So that's a good way to end it, I think. But there's another quote in this intro that I'm not forgetting. Anyways, that's all for now. Hopefully I'll read those later on. Let me see if I can find my lizard or whatever. Go ahead and reset up my camera. Or I think my hair is like not as good as it was an hour ago. Well, he or she, whatever, it's not a lizard, it's a gecko. I'm gonna try to feed it. I looked up online what to feed it. I saw something. Wow, where's he at? Clever. Oh, there he is. He's been getting more and more clever. He's warmed up to me. Or he or she, whatever it is. It's so small. I'm worried if it won't eat. I managed to accidentally get him to drink some water. He's disappeared again. Clever go. I know that they have very fragile tails, so I don't want to mess up his tail. Alright, that's his size, so he doesn't have to be as seductive as, because he looks better. He looks a whole lot more human and everything. He doesn't have to be as seductive as the mantis or... Wait, I was thinking about the word mantis. And what's a similar word? I was thinking about it backwards. Tisnom. Oh, that's like in GTA 5, they have the whole Kiflom thing. So perhaps I discovered the deeper meaning of the word Kiflom from GTA 5, and that's a whole whatever. It's like a weird cult or something in GTA 5. So hopefully my microphone is working. It doesn't always work as it did when it was brand new. So that's all for now. Hopefully I can read these aloud and digitize them for the next video parts. This was just an introduction, and video over.